First of all, I want to talk to you guys about Kickstarter. I feel like this conversation happens like every couple of months. Some dumb nonsense happens. Some real dumb nonsense happened over the past 2 days. There was an article I read on Rock Paper Shotgun, which I think was pulled not from maybe Games Radar or someone, basically talking about an interview with Peter Molyneux on the status of GODUS, which was his Kickstarter populist-esque sort of spiritual successor, as it were. Sounds like that game has come to a complete development stop, or they at least have had to replace staffers, and that whatever they promised is now not going to come to fruition.
I think it's unfair to call that purely a Kickstarter problem. I mean, Peter Molyneux is a genius. He does have wonderful ideas. We've seen a lot of those ideas not come to complete fruition. And we've seen recently GODUS, a game that he did originally start on Kickstarter. A lot of the key team members have left. We're actually talking with some of them now. We're looking into that and seeing what is going to happen to this game. It was one of those that he had a grand vision, laid that out on Kickstarter, promised a whole lot of stuff, and none of those things have really happened.
They do the whole thing with some person won a contest and was the god
so that was
the
the
whole world for a period of time until they were usurped.
That was the Curiosity Cube iPhone app. That whoever won it, who in fact was somebody who had downloaded it that morning and didn't know what it was. So what happened was this came out. I guess the article on RPS was yesterday, and then when I woke up this morning, I realized that 22 Cans had actually posted up perhaps one of the most cringy confessional videos I've ever seen in my life, with Peter Molyneux, I think a gentleman who is the new lead for GODUS, and another gentleman from 22 Cans, basically going through the reasons people are worried about this. And some of the quotes from it, I have to say, were just a bit crazy. My morning brain could barely deal with it. Suffice to say, the GODUS Kickstarter will not be fulfilled, and the team have either quit their jobs or have been moved. Which was an anonymous source that came out in that article. But Mr. Molyneux had a bunch himself. The art book we haven't done, and that's primarily because we've been so busy. The problem with the multiplayer is when you develop features, you need to also make sure they are multiplayer compatible. So multiplayer, these are part of the stretch goals, haven't been done. The next step for us is adding combat. After that, we should have a look at multiplayer again. And one of the worst ones, I think, is I'm not worried about the pledges. I do worry about the Linux version pledge, because we need the middleware that we use, Marmalade, to update to support Linux, which it currently does not, which was another stretch goal that they achieved. So it just seems like a planning clusterfuck across the board.
That's something. Kickstarter is a platform that lets someone, even an experienced developer like Peter Molyneux, anything that I'm going to do, here's the things that I want to deliver. But you don't have a finished product. You're basically bankrolling. You're being the publisher in this kind of instance. And you're saying, I'm going to give you guys money because I like that idea, and you hope that it gets delivered. And I think it's weird when people think of it as an investment. And I've heard that thrown around a lot. People feel like they're investing in the product that's being created. But really, you're pre-ordering a game, but you're pre-ordering before it's even created. Normally, we have the buffer of a publisher who's fronting the money, who's making sure that it gets developed, and that it's a product that's going to work. In this case, we're bankrolling the game being created. In most cases, sometimes the games are done and they just want to bring it to more platforms, or they want to expand the reach in some way. And in this case, we were basically bankrolling GODUS as a project. And most of those things aren't going to be delivered on, which is something that it's a danger with any Kickstarter project, whether it's a game or not. When these are basically ideas, and they want to make these come to fruition. Sometimes there are some products, and you have to be really careful. There was one that I was watching, and I was really wary of last year, and it was a tracking device that didn't use a battery, that didn't require anything, but it would tie to your phone, and you could slip it in your wallet, is what it said. It's this little device, put it in your wallet, and you'll be able to track it no matter where it's at.
That sounds too good to be true.
It does. Wow, this is really interesting. And so
it's powered by wishes.
Well, there are, like the NFC readers, those cards, they interact with devices. But the problem is that this is saying that even if you're not nearby, even if your phone's not nearby, you'd be able to find out where it's at.
Was this total nonsense?
And it was a complete bunk.
Really?
It sounded really cool. I put on a little reminder. I'm going to check back on this.
But surely, it's worse when somebody like Peter Molyneux, who has been involved in publishing massive games like Black and White and the Fable series, when you want to trust them, and even when it's someone like Peter Molyneux, who has consistently fallen short of his own lofty expectations, and we kind of love him for that. But is it not just simply false advertising? Like, this isn't the first time it's happened either. Space DF9 last year with Double Fine was another game that was out on early access that promised all of these features, and then eventually through, I imagine, just the wheels of game development, at a certain stage you realize, the game that you had on paper at the start wasn't the game that it was going to be at the end. But it's different when people have bought the idea of the game you said you were going to make.
And that's the thing, with terms like false advertising and you buy the idea of it, I think we're so used to consuming games when we look at a feature list, we read about the features, and we understand, we can visualize what that's going to be, and that's describing a game that exists.
Yeah.
But when you're reading on Kickstarter, you're not describing something that exists. You're describing the dreams that exist, the plans that exist. And I think, Justin, your analogy to a person funding on Kickstarter being the publisher, look at video game publishers over the past 5-10 years. How many of them have gone out of business compared to how many are still in business? How many have had to drastically change their plans? How many are scrambling to do DLC this and that? Because the publishing business is volatile and uncertain, and that's kind of the way it is when you're betting on stuff on Kickstarter.
I wonder, is this just a case of caveat emptor? Should people just be wary of the money that they're investing in, or do we need to have, especially companies that are established and have been releasing games, do they need to do a better job at doing good on this, or should they just stop asking for money before their game has even started being made?
I love the idea of Kickstarter and how it does both empower the developer.
Yeah, I just noticed you're reading Rainbow Cup.
I inadvertently brought my Reading Rainbow. This is another thing that I backed as a Kickstarter. LeVar Burton put together this Reading Rainbow program. We wanted to bring that back. It's a program that wasn't getting the funding that it used to. Wanted to bring that back, bring it out to schools, and it's something that raised a lot of money. And if you backed it, you could choose to get a cup. I was like, oh, cool, I'll get a coffee mug. Feel like I'm doing something good for the world. And he got a lot of flack for people saying, well, you're actually making money from this. To which his response was, well, no shit, this is also part of my job. I want to make money from this. I want to make it something lucrative and something that's going to be able to work as a business idea. And some people, I don't feel totally understand what they're getting into with these Kickstarters. It's getting back to that, I think I'm investing in a game, that I'm going to be a part of this game. When actually you're just kind of giving the money to and hoping that they're going to deliver on those promises. And no, you should always be careful with where you invest your money, whether that's a pre-order that you're making for a game, whether it's a game that's already out and that you're buying, or whether it's the idea of a game like on Kickstarter. That is a lot at your discretion. And I don't think that it's necessarily on a system like Kickstarter to try to close that off more. I think that we do look after ourselves a lot. That I trust the people that I follow on Kickstarter. They kind of alert me when there's a cool or a good idea out there. Yeah. And if I'm not 100% behind it, maybe I set a reminder and I'll come back and check on it, see what people are saying in the comments, seeing how those companies respond both to comment, how involved are they with the community and giving me updates about what's going on. And that's going to be a good indication of how they're going to progress along when they actually have something to work on. But even then, there's always a little bit of a danger. But I like that. I wouldn't want to take that away because
you like the element of danger.
Well, not necessarily the danger.
I don't invest in stuff that I'm really, really interested in, that I really, really want, because I'm so worried about getting let down. I try not to invest in games at all now, because sort of being on this side of the press as well. But for instance, Neverending Nightmares was a game that I really wanted to see get made. I thought it touched upon stuff that I wanted to have a game made about, anxiety and depression and whatnot. And when that game came out, it was what it said it was, and I enjoyed it, but I kind of would have been happy anyway. And then I've kickstarted stuff like books. There was a Sensible Software book that was getting made. I was like, yeah, that's not going to get made unless people want it ahead of time, because,
that's the other thing.
Super specific. And that sort of stuff's good, but games I really, really want, I'm so worried.
What's the difference between the game and the book at that point? I mean, you're talking about a product that doesn't exist. You're talking about also, are you saying it was a foregone conclusion that Neverending Nightmares was going to get made?
No.
Because someone was already developing it? Where's the difference for you there?
I guess I was using both of those as tip jars for ideas that I actually wanted. I haven't read the book. It looks great on my shelf, and I'm really happy it got made. But I guess, maybe it's just something I'm very wary of early access as well.
But it's a way for especially developers who don't have a publisher behind them to say, like, is anyone interested in me creating this thing? And I actually back a lot of board games that aren't going to get a big release because it's expensive to ship those out to stores to have that stock of them. And sometimes those board games they create are basically, we're doing a one-off thing. If you guys give us enough money, we'll make it and then we ship it out to you. I mean, that's basically it. And it's a kind of a proving ground for, like, do people care about this? Is this going to be fun and interesting? And I'm willing to try that out. And yes, I've kickstarted some crappy board games, but I've kickstarted some really fun ones as well.
I think the bottom line is, like you said, Danny, caveat emptor. I mean, this is not retail. Like, we live in a world where, you know, we are used to buying stuff from Amazon or wherever, where there are these systems in place to ensure customer satisfaction, and companies have the, you know, that built into their business plan. This is not buying something that exists. This is not protect. You can't go to the Better Business Bureau and be like, "Hey, these guys are straight up making fraudulent claims about the thing that's on their shelf." Like, it's
that plumber plumbed my house with chocolate tubes.
Yeah, it's a different thing, and you got to wrap your head around it before you go in there, so you manage your expectations and what you're getting into.
Yeah, well, Peter Molyneux asked for money for GODUS and 22 cans. We'll have to wait and see whether his next project, which he is already talking about, goes down the Kickstarter route. Something tells me that if it does, maybe it won't be successful. Let us know what you think about Kickstarter and investing in the comments below, folks.